Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I'm just going to be talking about the Retribution Paladin buffs that came out today and the developer's note that came with it. So I just have this up on Wowhead here. We'll read through it and we'll talk about what this means and how much of a damage increase it is, according to me, and we'll see that, where that goes. Crusader Strike damage increased by 40%. Obviously one of our weakest abilities is now, slightly less weak. Blade of Justice damage increased by 25%. Final Reckoning damage increased by 15%. Shield of Vengeance, specifically cooldown, reduced to 90 seconds, was 120. And with the talent, that puts it down to a minute. So a minute on every Shield of Vengeance, which is obviously a DPS increase as well, if you are using it during a damage thing that makes it pop and, gets full value out of the damage that it does. Now, maybe more telling, and we'll talk about this afterwards, is we finally have a developer's note. So during the beta and everything for Dragonflight, famously, Ret did not get many, if any, developer's notes. And there's a couple specs that are like this. You can probably guess which ones those are. The ones that are unhappy all the time. And so some of Retribution's main rotational buttons do not feel good to press as we'd like, so we're making some changes to help improve these abilities. So Blade of Justice and Crusader Strike. Additionally, their survivability isn't where we would like, so we're making some improvements to their defensive kit. That's the Shield of Vengeance every minute thing. We're looking at Retribution as a whole, and we'll have more to share in the future. So, honestly, guys, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but this could even mean that. So this is big. We're looking at Retribution as a whole. So now, to you, that might mean, oh, they're going to give us back something really cool, or they're going to give us back, and they could. There's a couple different ways this could go, but you might be thinking about damage or something like that. When I think of what Blizzard thinks about with Retribution Paladin, honestly, I think of Divine Steed, and I think that they might at least be looking into Divine Steed for Ret. That's just a theory. Obviously, it's complete theory. But the fact that they worded it this way, and the fact that we know that for whatever reason Blizzard just views Retribution Paladin as needing to have a Divine Steed, like they're so set on that, when they say look at it as a whole, that's kind of what I think about. The only other thing it could be, it could be anything, right? It could just be damage. I shouldn't say it's the only other thing it could be. But another cool thing it could be, at least to me, some people don't like it, but the auto bubble back from Legion, I really, really like that. I mean, obviously having a cheat death is one of the most valuable things you can have in a raid or high mythic plus, to just, oh crap, I messed up and then I don't die. That is so valuable to have. And so I would actually like to see that come back. That really helps the defensive toolkit, obviously, if you get the auto bubble there. And then it also allows you to like stand in something that maybe you wouldn't normally stand in. Let's say your Shield of Vengeance is down. You want to keep DPSing, and you know this thing's going to do like 90% of your health or something, but it might kill you, and so you walk out of it. But you could just stand in there and let your bubble proc as long as it's up or whatever. That's kind of why I liked it. It's kind of just kind of a min-maxing thing. So it could be something like that. It could be something about Divine Steed, something that Retribution as a whole. So I think that to me means from their end, it's like the core of Retribution Paladin. So bubble, Divine Steed, and maybe the way they do their damage too. I doubt we're gonna get a whole rework in the middle of the expansion though, so that's why I don't think that. Like, if you think that we're gonna get a complete rework in the middle of an expansion, I don't think that's gonna be the case. Yeah, I just don't see that. I could see maybe them taking talents that nobody's using, there's plenty of those really, and maybe making them defensive or giving them something there. That I could see, because that's not an entire rework. But overall, I think it's going to be more set in those type of things. And they also view Shield of Vengeance as well, and they changed this. Notably, they changed this and not Divine Protection. I don't think they want us to have Divine Protection. They're obsessed with Shield of Vengeance. So maybe they even get that cooldown down to like 45 seconds or something. I don't know. But that's another thing that they do view as Ret, is Shield of Vengeance. So we'll see where they go with it. The developer's note is really interesting. Now let's talk about the actual damage here. So the damage, when you calculate it out or whatever, the very first like preliminary people I saw say about 2% damage, and then on Then I saw people say 3% damage. Then I saw somebody say 3% damage, maybe a little bit more. So I just calculated it myself, and by no means am I like an expert or anything, right? I'm pretty good at math, but I'm not like, I don't do it for a living or anything. And I got about 4% when I did it. So I would say 3 to 4% buff overall, maybe even a little bit higher. I would definitely lean on the higher side of that, maybe like 3.5 to 4.5%. Personally, that's where I would assume this is about at. And of course, I could be wrong. I could have done something wrong on the numbers. That's definitely possible, but it's definitely in that range, right? It's not a huge buff. It's not just a 1% buff. It's like in this weird range of like around 4%, let's just say, somewhere around 4%. So that's where that's happening. Again, it's nothing big to say there. Crusader Strike being buffed, again, it's a very weak ability, so it's not doing much more. Maybe it changes like how important it is as far as, or how much it matters if you press Consecration on single target when you have, one Crusader Strike is now Consecration after that last Crusader Strike. Is it now just kind of equal? Because before, with one, if everything else is on cooldown, you have one Crusader Strike versus Consecration to choose from. You choose Consecration. So does it matter anymore? Basically, that's kind of how I would feel it probably is that difference probably doesn't make as much of a difference basically anymore. So it might be kind of equal, and you could keep playing whatever way you're playing. Blade of Justice damage. Some people were wondering if this is going to like result in like a Blade of Justice build. I haven't seen anything into that yet. I haven't tried anything myself either. I'd be interested in trying that. This just came out. I haven't had time to try anything like that. And then the Final Reckoning damage. Obviously, this is a good AoE increase as well. For Final Reckoning specifically, everything else is single target. Final Reckoning, obviously, it's we use it in our single target build too. So it's an overall damage boost, but you get more out of it for AoE since it's a uncapped AoE spell. So those are kind of the highlights there. Obviously, the developer's note is probably a lot more interesting when you talk about, the ins and outs of Ret Paladin. But it is, if you just came here to hear it's a 4% damage buff, I'm sorry I didn't say that at the top, but that's about what it is, somewhere around there. And, I might skew a little bit higher than that. So the 3.5 to 4.5, I personally might skew closer to the 4.5, but I know that there are people that are more expert at numbers than me that are saying 3%. So, I would value my opinion because I do value my opinion. So I'd just say somewhere in that range is where I would put it. But that's it for this one, guys. Not a whole lot to talk about. We'll see what they go with this developer's note. We'll see what the future holds. As always, I do ask you to please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out so much. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.